Are you kidding me? That's what?
Yeah, every so often it happens that Ryan is right.
100% right. Not even a little bit right.
Tucker Pullman, 2 points last game.
No kidding.
My man!
Hey, neither does me running shirtless, but that turned out very well. Welcome to the PP1 podcast. I'm not sure what's worse. Us trying to figure out how to connect to this stupid thing every single week, or your batting slump in the last 2 weeks.
Hey, I was on base this week.
That's like a massive downgrade for you, though.
I had a good at bat. That's the bat to turn it around. The at bat to turn it around.
Okay, all right.
I got walked in a tough 10 pitch at bat. So
you've had a struggle the last couple of weeks, though. Like it's like you're not yourself.
Yeah, I'm finding it hard going from slow pitch to ortho.
It's been a rough week.
Struggling.
I mean, you almost killed me on Monday. He tags up, just so everybody's aware. He tags up at third. No one's running to third. There is no force play, which is funny in itself, but I let it slide. And then he absolutely rifles one to first base. By the way, I'm pitching, and I deemed to be in the way, so I decided to drop to the ground because I valued my life more than getting in the way of the ball.
But you're supposed to get out of the way. The third to first throw,
not that much, not that convincingly.
The third to first throw, though, you're supposed to be out of the way so I can see the bag.
Yeah. Agree to disagree. Welcome to the PP1 podcast. We are part of the Dean Blundell Network. We are presented in concert, because that's what the professional people say.
Ooh.
I know.
Wordsmith over here.
I know. With Move Health and Wellness, they are our partners on the show. I saw Dr. John this week, and you're not going to believe this, but he is like, as a chiropractor, I now know the difference between, like, as we joked about, like the cracky backy, like he says, and an actual chiropractor that gets you better. I highly suggest that people go to an actual chiropractor like John, or even John if you happen to live in Kelowna, and check him out, because he definitely can help you out and get you back on the mend and show you what you're doing wrong or show you what you can be doing right. So thanks, Move Health and Wellness, for coming along. My good friend to my right here is Ted. He's rocking a lovely ball cap this evening. It's a Friday. Cheers to the long weekend.
Yeah.
Oh, what do you got there? Is that a peanut butter stout of some kind? Looks like. I just have this eye. Lovely. Oh man. So who makes that one?
That one is Lost Coast Brewing. So it's out in Eureka, California.
Okay. Can I get that at my local store?
Probably not. I think you might have to make a little jog out to West Side. Maybe the Metro down by your place. You might be able to get it.
I've got a Phillips Electric Unicorn.
That's one of my favorites.
Delicious. We got a fun one. We're going to be a little bit silly mode today. There wasn't a lot of Canucks news, so playoffs. There's definitely playoffs. We got a few neat things to talk about. I'm going to bring up the contest.
Can't even win a game.
The Canucks can't win a game.
Yep.
There's a few teams that can't win the game. A little bit more baseball stuff, and obviously some goaltending. I want to get into, first and foremost, Karens and Kyles on the baseball field. On Tuesday, my daughter had a ball game, and it was against a team that we don't really like the coaches that much. So 6 o'clock start time. Everybody's maybe try to get to the ball field like 5:30, right? That's get ready for the game, ready to go at 6. So we're all there. Everybody's warming up. The other team's there. They decide to run a mini grounders clinic at first base minutes before the game. We're the home team, so we're on the field ready to go. And they're hitting grounders. The game didn't start for another 10 minutes after that because they decided, we're going to take some time and get going. It was a game. You have a practice. There's 2 times a week you play baseball. One is a practice, one's a game. And they decide to run this little grounders clinic. Made no sense. We were all wondering why. Coaches also eventually yelled out, "Hey, so we're ready when you guys are ready." Oh, okay. Yeah, let's get going. So they go on. We get going on the field. They go up a few runs early in the game. All their kids are like throwing these metal bats like willy-nilly. Umpire, who is one of the dads on our team, because they don't have paid umps, unfortunately. So he just says, "Hey, can you guys make sure you're not throwing the bats out, like, when you hit, kind of drop it to the side. The girl coach, Karen, as I'm calling her, well, they're just learning. What? Yeah, they're still learning. I know, but you can still tell them not to throw a metal bat into the wilderness. Anyway, so she gets up. All the parents clearly heard this. It was awesome. And it proceeded to be a very interesting game. So last inning, game was kind of going
Karen's
on.
in the wild, just beauty. Karen's in the
Karen,
wild.
oh man, they're just awful.
It's
So
I feel really bad like for the people like actually named Karen. You get a bad rep.
like that M&M's commercial. I'm sorry I called you Karen. That is my name. Oh, I'm sorry your name's Karen. It's good. It's a good Super Bowl commercial. So my daughter gets in there, absolutely crushes one to the outfield, like last inning of the game because they're home. Decides to sprint around the bases because no one bothered to do anything in the park home run, just like her pops. And all the parents are just going ballistic, right? It's so funny. We're all laughing, high five, and she's high fiving her teammates. 2 at bats later, the other tall girl on the team does the exact same thing. We lost, but it was just one of those like they kind of stuck it to them, and I think the kids might have figured it out too. It was pretty awesome. So suck it, Karens. Not the actual people, but the name.
There's definitely Karens at the ball field. It's like
Yeah.
coaching a year of U13 or U12. Like there's
they're out there.
They exist. They're out there. They're a real thing. They don't
Mhm.
they don't care about other people's kids. They don't care about other people at the ball field. It's just all about them. And it really shows. Yeah.
It drives me nuts. But on the positive side, there's other good things going on this week. My man to my screen right, your gymnastic career is about to take off. Looks like, based on your little CrossFit this week, your little was it the uneven bars? It looked like. Maybe walk us through that. We can check it out on your IG, and I think you posted on Twitter. My kids were beyond impressed, having been in gymnastics, and my youngest Kinsey challenged you to handsprings because apparently you're now a gymnast. But walk us through that double up pull or whatever you want to call it.
It was a muscle up. So I've been working on it for a few months now since I started. But yeah, last CrossFit session was the one, I guess. So I hit it. We did a little bit of practice. So I got up there. It was fun.
Welcome to the chat, Steve. So like someone who complains about being put at the bottom of the hitting lineup. Funny story. Steve was complaining about our game yesterday, saying how that he had a sore ass from pitching a complete game. And I said, yeah, imagine if you had pitched a complete game.
We got rained out pretty hard. Yeah.
It was the last inning.
He was chucking though. He was. Pitches were coming in quick.
He was. And so anyway, we were back and forth in the group chat, and I was just giving him a hard time. But he had a good game. But we came to an understanding at the end. But that's what good friends do. Like if you're not busting balls, what's the point? Like the harder you go, like that, the more you care, right? I think that's the rule. Something like that. This could get awkward really quickly. We do have some hockey stuff to talk about, but I want to get, because we're going to forget about this later on, I want to get a few of these things out of the way. So I don't know if everybody saw on, I think it was Tuesday or Wednesday night, I was meddling on the internets, and I've had this planning. I still need to finalize this and put a price on it. But we officially, and I haven't seen another one out there, the PP1 podcast is the first Canucks podcast to release an NFT. I'm still figuring it out.
Did we pick the worst NFT? Did we pick the worst image?
Maybe.
Out of the 15 that were available?
I would just wanted to get the sparkly one out in the start. Once I know what I'm doing, I can throw a few more in there. But that will be available. It's out there. It is not available for purchase quite yet. I mean, all the freebies out there, I guess you could just screenshot it. You could do that. That would be something.
We use Selena to create it so that it's more leaving less of a carbon footprint. I just want to make sure that we're on the good track here.
Carbon footprint? No, actually, like I pumped in carbon. I bought some extra. I bought some credits so we can pollute as much as we want. So I know a guy, I can buy some of their credit. So anyway, pretty cool. It's makes us a little bit different because we are different. So I mean, who the market seems to be crashing. So this is when you get in. So when the rises again, we get on the bottom floor of the basement, right? Right to the top, something like that. I think that's how.
Yeah, I think you're almost there.
Yeah. We also have a contest that we're doing. We've got some really cool summer swag coming. We've got summer skates. I've got a bunch of those that would be more than happy to give away. I think I've got basically every size available. We did a really cool partnership, or not a partnership, but a cool one-off run of some of our Masters apparel as well, and we've got a hat I think coming. So as soon as that's available, we will put those up, and we'll figure out what that contest needs to be. I think it's going to be pretty awesome, and you're going to look good on the golf course and on the 19th hole when you're
super comfy hats too. You did a good job on those hats.
well, sometimes people got to have nice stuff, and I think everyone deserves nice stuff. So that will be coming very soon, and don't you worry, we will be posting a ton of that. As I said, we are with Move Health and Wellness, and they are with us till September and hopefully beyond. But we've re-upped with those guys. It's been a lot of fun. Like I said, I'm just happy personally to have basically a chiropractor and a massage therapist that I can actually book with. John is definitely filling up. You got to go to him. He's a pro. He walks you through everything you need to know about basically how your body works. And I think the education is half of it. So make sure you go check out Dr. John. He's available for booking. Ted, let's talk some hockey. What do you think?
Yeah, let's do it.
Are you down for it? I did see one weird thing, and this is like kind of hockey. You know Andrew Walker, right?
Yeah.
The villain of Vancouver Twitter, it seems, or sports.
Is he the villain?
I think he has portrayed himself as a villain, right?
Hmm.
I wouldn't say like he's been nothing but nice to us, but
Yeah, I mean, I think he's a good guy. I sort of appreciate all these guys individually, and they all bring something a little bit different to the table. I don't know if we have to say that one guy specifically is a
no,
villain, unless that's something he wants. I don't know.
I think he knows that he's kind of portrayed himself, and that's great. I mean, again, he's bringing stuff to the market. Did he drop in your DMs recently to promote his podcast, the Hedge Cast or the Hedge something?
I don't think so.
It's like, hey,
Probably
further
just
to
you.
our last message, here's my podcast. I thought that was just like out of the ordinary, just out of nowhere.
Thanks, Andrew Walker.
Yeah, so I don't know, just something weird. We haven't chatted in a while, kind of random. Like I said, it's kind of hockey. But you kind of mentioned in our rundown too. Like speaking of Walkers, I think this just dropped today about
yeah, today.
about Scotty Walker.
Yeah, out as assistant coach in Vancouver. So one more opening on that Canucks bench for another assistant coach. I liked him there. I don't know if I liked him because he's a classic Canuck guy.
Yeah.
But yeah, it looks like he's walking in. So, or he's walking away. We're
Walking
gonna get
out.
walking out. We're gonna get somebody in that spot. So it should be.
Do you
I don't
think
know. We're kind of at that. We're at that point where like a lot of the guys we grew up watching are now like starting to cycle in as like either brass or assistant coaches, and they're finding other ways back into the league. I mean, those guys have always been around there. We've always seen those guys work their way onto benches and head offices and stuff, but we didn't know them as much as players, as much as like our dads did, right? So now some of these guys are
these are our guys.
Working in their late 30s and early 40s, and they're working their way onto Canucks bench, or not Canucks, just NHL benches and stuff. So it's kind of cool to see. So it'll be interesting to see who works their way to the next spot.
So, and Rick Bowness, I guess, stepped down today or yesterday from Dallas after they got knocked out. Interesting. And I guess it sounds like there might be some more movements out in Dallas. And an interesting name, I didn't even know he was an assistant coach, but Steve Ott.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow. I mean, that's a Dallas guy through and through too.
Yeah. I mean, is that a guy you could see coming like to work with Bruce? Do you think that'd be a Bruce guy?
Whoever's going to help the power play, man. I don't really care.
I
don't know what Steve Ott brings as an assistant coach. I didn't know that he was that much of a tactician, but I mean, if you can rub some Steve Ott on the rest of the team, then maybe they'll be tougher to play against at the very least.
I wonder if there is a market. I don't know what Burrow's contract is like out in Montreal, but wouldn't that be something?
It would be great.
Like, I think we'd all lose it. Like, it's one of those things, like, especially like in Kelowna here, we've had like Adam Foote, and we've had not Ryan Smith, Jason Smith. Like, like those names. It's like, oh, we've got so and so, and they used to be in the NHL, and everyone's cheering when they come up. Like, it's the coach, people. Like, we're not cheering for them to like, hey, coach a great game.
But that's the thing, right? Like when guys like that come in, like, I mean, Kelowna is renowned in the junior ranks for how they produce defenders, right? Like,
yeah,
they've always been known as a really strong stout defensive team that has always pumped out quality defenders, right? So when you see a guy like Jason Smith come in, you think of that like heavy, solid defender, and Adam Foote, same thing, right?
I'm just saying, like, if Burrows came to Vancouver, like, would we be all like warm and fuzzy, like, "Oh, I'm so happy that this guy's
Maybe,
coaching."
probably, right? Because I think your team takes on the identity of its coach. So I mean, why wouldn't you want them to take on the identity of a guy like Burrows?
That's true. I don't know. It'd be interesting. I wonder if found you.
Yeah,
See,
everyone can see you.
yeah, you didn't try hard enough. It'd be interesting because now that there's spots opening up, I mean, obviously their training staff is getting a shakeup as well. I think it's not just the on ice product, but it's the build up to the on ice product too, right? So,
Yeah.
I mean, we're not going to ask for Kevin Bieksa to bother showing up in Vancouver as a coach because clearly we know his calling. Um,
Yeah, that guy's born to be in front of the camera.
he's a lock. He is an
Yeah.
absolute lock. So yeah, there's some interesting coaching things going on. Obviously, Bruce is back, so he's going to get an opportunity to do his system for at least a season. And I mean, they're on a 100. What they everybody's saying, like 106-point pace. And I mean, you build on that. You build on whatever they're going to do this offseason. And I think there's an opportunity for this team to be. I mean, as far as being coached, they played a lot better. And maybe it was just the spark and the right guy to do it. But I mean, as soon as Travis Green and Benning were gone, like it was that first week, and yes, there's wins, but it was a different team. Like just the identity seemed to like change overnight.
Yeah, well, there's that winning streak, man, and the winning. We've talked about this so often, right? Like winning solves everything.
It does.
It really does,
Absolutely.
and that goes for the players too, and how they're feeling about their game, right? So you go from feeling like nothing's going to change to all of a sudden you feel like you have like a complete renewed enthusiasm, and it showed.
It's yeah, I've just been thinking about it because I've been listening to a couple of I would say rival podcasts, but let's be serious, we're not quite that high in the rankings yet. So, but just talking about how that team basically was on pace for something, and they ran out of time as far as games went. But there was an opportunity for that team to have been a lot better had they had a little bit more runway to work with. So, speaking of listening to other podcasts, last week I was listening to the Vancast and Canucks conversation, and both podcasts mentioned about the first round and possibly trading down to add more draft picks to create more value. So now,
Did
correct
did
me,
they mentioned it as a possible option?
correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure I said that, and you pooped all over that and said, "No, Ryan, that would be not necessarily the right thing to do." And yet, both of those shows had something to say, and they put it in a way where I mean, it sounded like a. Hey, correct me if I'm wrong, but it sounded like a great idea, adding more draft picks, and
So
maybe not
they
trading,
wanted to trade out of the first round for additional second round picks.
not necessarily just out of the first round,
Because
but that.
that was my thing where I crapped all over you. I said no, can't get rid of a first round draft pick just to get extra second round draft
So
picks.
they did. I think it might have been Drance, and I'm not going to speak that into truth. I would have to go and listen over. But
Well,
one of them went,
sounds like you're about to go on a big dumper here, and you don't have all the facts.
nah, there's enough facts in there. Here's how it's going to be. They mentioned it. They said, yeah, trading down might not be the worst thing. You can get more value as you go deeper. Bottom line is, I am right and you are wrong, just like the intro says. There you go. Yeah, you have nothing to say.
I have
Nothing.
no problem trading down from like 15th to like 19th and
Would you be
picking up
willing
an
to go
additional
like
second round draft pick. What
what,
you were talking about
like
was
25th?
trading down out of the first round to pick up multiple second round picks.
I don't think that's the worst thing.
And I think that's when I went down the list of failed second round picks.
Before this is now. That doesn't happen every year.
If we
Sometimes
have
it works out.
yeah. I don't care. I don't care if both those guys said it. I don't want to see the Canucks trade out of the first round.
All right.
I don't care if Thomas Strand said it. If Thomas Strand said the Canucks need to trade out of the first round for additional second round draft picks, I'll quietly disagree with him
Well, I
because
think
he's
you're
a pretty loud
publicly.
guy.
Yeah, I mean, I would wonder if we had him on the show, who would be louder?
I probably just got to be Trance.
You
That
think
laugh,
over
that
me?
maniacal laugh. Oh yeah, for sure.
That'd be interesting.
Because we'd be quiet and listen to him speak because I just
That's
love what he
probably
has to say. Yeah.
that's probably fair. We'd respect what his voice is spewing out to us. So we'll find out maybe at Young Stars this year.
Yeah.
I think we need to test this theory. We'll put it out there to the people and find out. So yeah, I don't know. The playoffs. Have you been watching any playoffs?
I did watch some. I've been sort of picking and choosing games all over the place, but yeah, big fan of that Tampa Bay Toronto series wrapping up in the first round. That was pretty fun. It's been good to watch as of right now. New York Carolina has been really fun to watch. I haven't watched a lot of the West Coast stuff, um, but it seems like St. Louis, Colorado is going to shape up to be maybe a little bit better of a closer series than we thought.
I think so. I'm surprised at that one.
And
I think a
then
lot of people are probably surprised at that one.
yeah, and then the Calgary Edmonton thing was just lunacy.
Did you see
Just
game one?
lunacy. I didn't see the whole game, but I did see the recap, which is just ridiculous.
So that game, I got home because I was, I think Tuesday. So we got home from the ball game, from Addison's ball game, and I'm like, oh, perfect. The game's on. I'm gonna catch it. We got tons of time. And we got home. They were still doing national anthems. Went to the kitchen. Had to turn on the other room. Went to the kitchen. I think I grabbed a beer. I think like from the time it took me to get 40 feet from where I was, grab a beer, say goodnight to the kids, and get back. It was 2-0 already. And I had to look at the clock. And it was what, a minute and a half in? It was already 2-0. So then it goes up, I think, 3. Then it was like 3-1 McDavid with an absolutely dirty dangle in front of Markstrom. That goal, like, it kind of reminded me of Pavel Datsyuk, but with, and I hate to say it, like more finesse, if
More
that's
finesse than
possible.
Datsuk, yeah.
Yeah, that like it's. I know it sounds stupid because like that guy like should be on a commercial for finesse, but just the way like McDavid was in tight there, right at like net front even, and still managed to make an extra move on Markstrom and score. That game was all over the place, crazy. As we've said in our group chat, like this game's drunk, and
That's a great way of.
you
That's a
know
great way, but yeah,
it was, and Calgary goes up, and it's looking like it's gonna probably be a runaway. I think it was like 5-2 at one point, and then I think it was like 6-2. And then out of nowhere, Edmonton's like, nah, we're not going anywhere. 6-5 after 2. Then it's 6-6. Okay, all bets are off. Then Calgary goes up 7-6. And then it took a little bit, 8-6, obviously. I'm thinking, well, it's still not over. And then they get the empty netter with the hat trick there.
what was the score earlier in the season where we had one of those games? It was like an 8-5 game or something like that. Do you remember?
Yeah.
It wasn't too long ago. It was like just a few months back. It was like nobody could stop anybody.
It was all offense, no defense. And I think
Yeah.
both coaches realized that. Like, and I think tonight's game too. So it was, I mean, it lived up to the billing 100%. The defense obviously could have been a lot better on both teams, but it did live up to everything that we were hoping that game one was. It did it, and I think everyone got their money's worth out of that. So, I mean, kudos to Calgary and Edmonton. I think they'll play a smarter game probably in game two, but my goodness, if we got 7 games of that,
Oh,
I
so
don't
it
even
was
know.
it was a bit of a repeat to the final regular season game between the Flames and Oilers, March 26th, where Calgary defeated Edmonton 9-5.
That's right.
But
That
like
game
watching that game was just like
was lunacy.
it's the same game basically.
So a playoff version of it costs more money to get in the door.
Yeah, I mean that's a heck of a game to get to if you're a
Yeah,
fan of
and
either of those teams. Yeah,
it was wild. So I think that series is definitely going to live up to it. Like you said, the St. Louis, Colorado. I think everyone and their dog probably had Colorado in like 5.
yeah.
Likely.
It's funny, right? Because I can't remember. I think it was Sutter, Coach Sutter was
Yeah.
like, "What's the point? You don't want to get in and play Colorado. I mean, it's just a waste of a week."
He's not wrong.
Just hilarious, right? So, but I mean, St. Louis is a big, heavy team that's won before, and those guys play playoff hockey, right? So,
And there's
I don't
enough
know.
guys on that team too, right? Like there's enough guys that have played and won playoff hockey.
Yeah,
Like
and we just watched Toronto eat it again. So if a number one like Toronto can eat it, I mean, no, they weren't the number one, but they would be like that's a quality ass team, right? So it can
I think
happen.
I think that's the difference, though. You've got teams like Toronto, as far as regular season, they can run the table, and you don't want to touch them. In
Can
the
run the
playoffs,
jewels.
you in the playoffs, you get teams like St. Louis, and you get teams like, I mean, Tampa. I can't believe we're writing them off, but Tampa's basically proven everybody wrong. Like, oh, Florida's the big team in the regular season. I think, and I'm going to be one of those people. It's not that I slept on Tampa, but I mean, kinda, because I think I know I had Florida picked in
Are
that
we really
series.
sleeping on? Was anybody sleeping on Tampa?
I'm not like I said, I'm not sleeping on them, but I didn't have them. I guess the way that they've played so far, I didn't have it going that way. And maybe Florida picks it up, but my goodness, it doesn't look like Tampa wants to give that series up either. So on the west side, like I said, Colorado, I'm a little bit surprised. At the same time, it's one of those things where, St. Louis pops its head back, and maybe they've had a rest from their little hangover after they won and realize, like, okay, guys, back to work. Kairu's looked really awesome. I mean, Binnington, unfortunately, is the Binnington that everybody hates, and he's just playing like lights out. It's, I don't know. There's hockey that I think it's kind of surprising. I think it's
Maybe he's
surprising.
just an every third year playoff goalie.
Ugh. I mean, again, good for him. If they're imagine they beat Colorado, I think that would be an
It
upset.
would be crazy,
Mhm.
crazy.
And
And if that happens, that paves the way for whoever gets out of. I mean, I shouldn't say paves the way for Edmonton because I don't think they're advancing, but
you would,
you'd rather not have to face off against Colorado, no matter what.
yeah, I don't think anybody wants to play them anyway. And I think just St. Louis is maybe just thinking, oh well, we shouldn't be here. We shouldn't
Yeah,
be
I still
playing these
think it's
guys.
going to be Colorado in that series, but
Who
yeah, I don't
knows?
know. Weird things happen.
And then, like I said, the Battle of Florida is just. I mean, Tampa Bay is still.
So it's just crazy to me that you can have a battle of Florida in
It's
a
pretty
sport like
wild, hey?
yeah.
The Florida Man series, like Florida Man does. It's crazy. It's so far the playoffs have delivered. I'm happy to see that Toronto got knocked out, but I also said this after they lost. It's not that I'm like giddy because they lost. I mean, that always makes me feel good, and I think a lot of West Coast, especially Canucks fans, find solace in that. But you have to look at that team, and from listening to all the different, media guys out east, and the guys that have weighed in and know a heck of a lot more. I mean, I'll say me. I'm not going to include you unless you include yourself. But like, this team hasn't done anything.
No,
This group of players, as great as they are,
it's the most accomplished unaccomplished team in the league.
I mean, who is it? What's the guy's name? Damian Cox. Right after he's like, yeah, it's blah blah blah. The Leafs did this, and I could see like Ottawa and Vancouver and blah blah blah. Montreal was in the Cup last year. Ottawa was in the conference finals in 2017. The Canucks were in the playoffs. Well, I mean, they did win a round technically. We have to say it happened. And then they were also in the playoffs in 15. And then they had a run from 2002 to like 2013, 2012, where they were in the second round at the very least every single year. And Toronto hasn't done a thing since 2004.
They just make it every year. That's why it's such a great storyline in Toronto. It's not that they lose and we're all like, yeah, I can't wait for them to suck. It's just that, like, win or lose, like, that storyline is just going to be absolutely bonkers, right? Like, if they win, it's not like when the Browns are waiting for their first win and like national news coverage is hanging out waiting to see what is going on in like local burrito bars and stuff, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But like when Toronto finally does get over the hump, like
They're
it's
going to
going to
be
be
unstoppable.
a humongous story. But until then, the existing story about this team not being able to get past the first round just continues to grow and grow.
So we have another year where they haven't won a round in HD, where they haven't won a round since the iPhone exists. Like all those stupid,
Yeah.
those stupid little stats, but they are true. And you look at this team and think,
They
you
haven't won
can't.
around since cryptocurrency. They haven't won around since NFTs.
Yeah, well, that's new now. But you've got a team that just hasn't gotten over that first hump,
Mm-hmm.
and they're thinking like nothing's wrong.
I don't think they think nothing's wrong.
I think, they're,
I think they look at their core and think they can't blow it up.
and that may be true, but there's a lot of other parts that they might be able to tweak. I think
It's obviously a tweak, right? It has to be.
I'm still holding out for Brock Besser for Marner. I'm going to fly that flag. I'm gonna fly it because I mean he's not signed yet. It does sound like they're gonna have talks. I think they said what next week things are gonna get going with the two of them. So
Is that what they said?
I think, and I'm not gonna bring up the other guy. I think we have to have a rule until there's something significant. We don't talk about JT Miller. It just seems like the easiest thing to talk about. Like, what are they gonna do? Should they trade him? Should they re-sign him? What's gonna happen? I think we need to leave that alone for a while. I think it's low hanging fruit. I just I'm JT Millered out for a while. I think I just need to like take a break. I need to go to
He's entered
Cabo.
Louis Erickson status.
Yes, I think we just need to go to Cabo and just forget about JT Miller for a little while.
Cabo
That's what I
Wabo.
think. Cabo Wabo. Did you see? I'm guessing you saw the Calgary Game 7, right, against Dallas. Jake Ottinger's coming out party.
Oh yeah, wild.
He was unbelievable. And now I look at both of these guys. So World Cup of Hockey's next year, right? Who's the three? I mean, Demko, Ottinger, and who else? Like, it doesn't matter who the third one. I think those are your
Well,
one,
if
two,
if Campbell's still playing for Toronto, then they'll say he's the projected starter.
which is just, that's so garbage. Like, well, we're gonna have the tournament in Toronto, and it's only fair. I mean,
Yeah, I
Brian
mean
Burke
it's such a crazy thing, right? Like, I mean, look at Binnington's fall back to earth after the Stanley Cup win, right? I mean, he could suck, but for now, it's a great story, and I'm cool to jump on board with it.
I don't like him, but he's a great goaltender. Binnington.
Is he great?
I mean, he's a really good goaltender. I'm going to take away great and put back really good. Am I allowed to say that? Can I take?
Yeah, I mean, he's a good goaltender. I mean, you could do a lot worse as a starter. I wouldn't call him like an upper echelon starter. Only, not that the ability is not there, and not that the skills aren't there at all. I just think it's just when you can start to string together 2, 3, 4 good seasons in a row. Like, I'm with you on that for sure.
Mhm.
He's
Yeah.
proven he can have like sustained stretches of success for sure, but I just don't count him quite in that like that top 5, top 10 tier yet.
So, getting back to Ottinger though, that game 7, I mean, he was a star rookie, right? Yeah, U.S. national team. Dude's an absolute set. He's 23 years old. I'm just trying to get his. I think is he still on his? Is he still on his rookie deal?
I can find out for you here. Just give me 2 seconds.
I'm doing it. I'm trying to get there as quick as possible. Who's gonna win? Who's gonna win? Who's gonna win? I think he is.
Yeah, so he's still on it.
So that dude is
So
making
925 this year, which means that he's got to sign his deal at the end of this season. So he's gone through his ELC. This was the last year of his ELC.
He's in line for a massive pay raise. But does he get like Demko money? Or do you think he hasn't done just enough to get like that $5 million?
Well, it's not like
they don't really have the cap space.
Yeah, it's not like he hasn't done enough. I just don't. I think the body of work just isn't there.
So that's interesting because they don't.
Because he's only got how many games did Demko have prior to signing his big deal?
I mean, the lion's share was the bubble, right? And that's when they went away from Markstrom. I think Demko was still on whatever deal he was on. So basically one-ish season, like the Canada year.
So he's got 80. He's got 84 NHL totals. I think Demko had something like 99 or 100.
So pretty close.
Pretty close. He's got a season of 29 starts and a season of 48 starts. And he's got on the whole 41 wins. So yeah, I don't think he makes Demko money, but he's due for a raise for sure. And you know what? It's been a year or two since the Demko signing, so maybe he does make Demko money now. So he makes Demko less inflation.
And they've got Jason Robertson. They've got
they got some people to resign. Yeah,
Raffle. They've got Radulov.
Radulov can go.
Klingberg. They've got. He'd be a nice little piece of work in Vancouver. Sekera, and then both goaltenders, Wedgwood and Ottinger. So I mean, obviously, both of their goaltenders combined this past season were making 1.7.
Yeah, that's not going to.
That was but I'm just saying their playoff tandem combined for 1.7 million. they only had one goalie to play, but I'm just saying you can make.
And then Vancouver's playing. They're paying 4 goaltenders.
Yeah.
They're
Yeah,
playing.
one from every division.
Yeah, some guys that aren't even on the roster anymore.
That's wild. Roberto's just like, shoot, I totally forgot. It's like those. It's like the not a royalty. Yeah, I guess are they the royalty checks when you're in? What are they called when you're in a movie and you get the what's it called?
I think it's a royalty check.
Yeah, just
Yeah.
shows up like, oh shoot, I totally forgot about that.
It's like the Mariah Carey. Every time that Christmas song gets played, she makes like $1 million per Christmas.
Yeah,
Just based on royalties.
yeah. Roberto's like, I thought that was over, but I guess it's not. You know what? We need a new vehicle. Let's go. Thanks, Vancouver. Oh my goodness, it's true. So yeah, you're right. We're paying like what?
Yeah.
I think for Luongo and Demko and Halak and who are we missing?
We're missing Holtby.
And Holtby. Man, that is a lot of money in goaltending. We're like the new Detroit, except they had all theirs playing, and there was
that was like when they had like Hasek and Joseph and Manny Legacy was there.
I remember it was like $16 million one year in goaltending. $16 million. I mean, I guess what's his pickle? Bobrovsky's making 10, so to each their own, I suppose. So we got that. Bruce is back. Ottinger, Besser on deck. I guess there's a lot of talk about Brock Besser still, and if he's going to be back in Vancouver. Obviously, he's an RFA. I wonder how that finishes out. I do wonder.
Oh, the QA is just ridiculous. I don't.
He's like 8, right? 7 or 8.
I thought it was like 7.5 or something like that.
I love Brock, but if they're serious about the moves that it sounds like they're gonna make, I don't know. There's upgrades on Brock Besser, and he had a pretty good season. But there are guys that you can pay for less and are going to be able to produce the same, potentially more, and don't have as much of a cachet of a name or maybe a resume. But you know that they're going to be able to be a consistent, or maybe they get what's his name?
So it was a $7.5 million qualifying offer that would be due this summer.
Wow, that's a lot of cash. I don't know. I just can't see that being what they do.
It's just, I mean, I love Brock, but that's a lot of money, right?
But they're not tied to him. Like this regime, if you will, the Rutherford, Alvin, like they're not tied to Brock Besser.
They're not tied to him. But that's a 45-point player that we're talking about.
45 points, $7.5 million.
And it's not like we're talking about, like he had a down year. He actually played the most games that he's played in his NHL career.
Right.
On a team that was scoring more than it has in I don't know how many years.
Mm-hmm.
And he's now looking at 4 consecutive seasons finishing under 50 points. Like we're looking at seasons of 45, 49, 46.
But like, what if they land Kuzmenko? I think that's one of the other things, right?
Yeah, well, Kuzmenko will go a long way towards pushing this deal.
But so you sign him for $925. Brock Besser's gone, I think.
Well, say you get 45 points out of Kuzmenko making $1 million.
You can sign him next year or the year after, I mean.
Yeah, so it's man, I like Brock. I like Brock a lot, but
it's not about like I think.
But 23
goals. I get that there's a person involved, and we'd be silly to think that there isn't like the human aspect. But it is a business. Like if you've been following the whole Chris Pronger thing on Twitter and how he's talking about how he thought everything was, golden rainbows, and then realized he got traded and thought he realized at that moment that like hockey was a business and there is still the human side and they care about it. But in this day and age where there's a salary cap, if you don't fit in that and you're not living up to this level, I mean, there's only so many dollars to go around.
That's the level. 7.5 million. We're talking about 7.5 million for a guy who's a perennial 23 to 29 goal scorer. It's a
If
lot of
you did,
money for
if
20
you
some
didn't
odd
tell me
goals.
the name, yeah, if you strip the name away from it, I can't
Yeah.
make that move. I can't.
It's just too much.
I mean, geez,
So
they
so I
paid
don't know
Willie.
what they're gonna, maybe they can get creative with it. Maybe he takes a restructured deal. Doubt it.
I wouldn't. This is your time to get paid.
Yeah.
Really. You took your little bridge deal. This is your time to get paid now. Whether he does or not, I mean, somebody's going to pay him. Whether it's
Yeah, this was the time that the bridge deal made sense, right?
mhm,
Like Brock, ooh, we're not really sure. We think there's potential there. If he starts to put up in the next couple of years, he becomes say he does the next couple of seasons at 30 goals, tops out around 65, maybe 70 points, then you're happy to pay him 7.5 or a little bit more, right? Because he's earned that money. But a QA for a guy who's basically showing that he's a 45-point player in the NHL is good for 20 some odd goals a year. That's not worth the 7.5. So in this case, the bridge deal worked out. Where the bridge deal, like where I had a problem with it is I think you know what you have in PD.
right.
And I think signing the bridge deal just means you got to pay him earlier and more than if you would have just worked out the deal previously for the 7 or the 8,
hmm
knowing that he's going to be the guy that you need him to be. And now they're going to be in trouble in that area too. So
It, like I said, you strip the name away from it, and I think, I think had he hit 30 goals, we might be talking about a different team or a different, different story, right? If he had hit 30, I think we've got maybe a little bit of a different story. What do you like? What do you think? Because he's
like,
been on the cusp and then injured, but that 30 goal marker, like that, it's like those tiers, right? He's a 30 goal scorer. He's not a 20 goal scorer. He's a 30 goal scorer.
I,
And then there's
I
the
mean,
guys that are in the 40. Like there's the guys that are above that are the 40 goal scorers, and now that's a level, right?
he had back-to-back 66-point seasons, and
I,
then has a year where he puts up 21 and 26, and then they sign him to a bridge deal.
I just
Like,
think they're paying
why?
him for
Why?
goals.
Why would you do that?
Yeah, they're paying him
Like
for goals though,
signing the Brock one made sense. Signing the PD one did not make sense. So all he
right?
does is he goes off and rips off 68 points, scores 32 for the first time in his career. He does exactly what you thought he was going to do, and now you're going to have to pay him a ton
Yeah.
early.
hmm
I don't know, but this is these continued stupid mistakes that this old regime made, right?
Yeah.
It's why they're out of here, because they continue to make poor choices, and we're continue to be impacted by them.
And then you see the rumors that Travis Green's on a few radars for coaching.
That's
I don't
cool. Yeah, that's cool.
I don't know though. I think it's still early. I
I
think,
mean, it'll
but
be a
it's
second.
the NHL.
Yeah, it'll
It's
be a
the
second
NHL.
go around as a head coach, right? Like he'll have learned whatever he learned in Vancouver with the roster that he had, and he'll get a different roster and he'll project differently, and and either he'll make it or he won't.
Well, that's I
But
think
I mean,
that's
his chances, he's not out of chances because he had a bad year in Vancouver with a shit roster.
no, I don't think he's I mean, he
He didn't
had
do
some.
it. He didn't do a great job. Like, don't get me wrong,
He
but
was an upgrade on
it wasn't solely on him.
no. He was an upgrade on Willie D. I think he did play a little bit more offensive style.
Yeah, and then I think you bring in a guy like Boudreau who can get the absolute most out of a roster that's not that good
Mhm.
and has them overachieving where Green didn't have them overachieving. Green had them probably playing around like below expectations. So the second go around, he's going to do things differently, right?
He's probably playing safe, realized what he had.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know, I'd wait it out another season because I would hate to see like there was who did I hear?
What do you mean you waited out another season if you were Green?
No, if you're the NHL. If you're
Oh,
looking for like, he wouldn't be my first choice because there's a few
he's
decent
probably
options.
not. He's probably not everybody's first choice,
He's
though.
probably not, yeah. I mean, I'm sure again, he's an NHL coach. What do I have to say? But last little story, and then we'll kick each other out here. Chloe, am I saying this right? Chloe Primerano, Vancouver Giants drafted her 268th overall in the Bantam draft. She's a defenseman,
Hmm.
first woman to get drafted in I think the CHL.
Super cool.
Now, Mike, I guess maybe they just didn't have this process before, like with Manon Rayon. Remember that?
Yeah.
how that all worked, as I think she was in like a women's league and then came through and went with Tampa and all that. But this is kind of cool. I wonder what like her career
And what
projections.
round did they take her in?
I want to say like the 268th. Is that like the 6th round? She comes from the Burnaby Winter Club, so that's, I mean, they're a freaking powerhouse. Round 13, it says.
Okay.
Burnaby Winter Club. There's a lot of who's coming out of that place. But I mean, clearly, if she's coming out of there, like, she's a pretty decent hockey player.
Yeah. 5'8", 135. I've seen the tape. Like, she can really skate.
And she's a defenseman.
Seems to control the game really well. Like, we talk about, I think there's still the stigma that you got to be a humongous defender to make it.
Ask Troy Stetcher.
Ask Troy Stetcher. I mean, you can be physical and be small just by having really good body position and being really smart for the puck and gap control. And Quinn Hughes, same thing, right? I mean, I would say that he's physically overpowered by like probably 90% of the forwards that come in on him.
He's just smart.
But he's just smart, right? If you're a heady person and a heady player, like you can make it. And obviously they thought enough of her. And I think it's awesome. I think it's great. I can't wait to see what she does. I don't know how far she goes, but that has more to do with the fact that she was selected in like the 13th round. And I don't know how far anybody that gets selected in the 13th round of a junior hockey league draft makes it.
Exactly.
But that's still super cool, right? I love that the league isn't limited to it's not a men's league. It's a players league, right?
Yeah. I mean, let's say it happens. So bantam draft. So she's probably at least a year away from scratching the surface, right? Like as far as a rostered player. You know, maybe she absolutely dominates in her league and then gets like a call up towards the end of season.
Yeah, she's 15, right? So when we see junior players that are 15 playing in Kelowna, they're skating around with face masks. What do they get? 10 games? I can't remember what it is now.
Yeah, it's just they get a cup of coffee, basically taste of what the league's like, and then you get a tryout for next year.
I would say probably not happening this year. Like go back to Burnaby and continue to refine your game.
Yeah.
Right. But at some point I think she's going to get a sniff, and that's cool. Yeah. Can't wait to see.
And then like imagine, I mean, it's obviously there's the first step is just getting drafted. So then let's say next step is like she actually makes this team in a year and a half or 2 years. You know how many girls are going to be coming out to every WHL?
Oh yeah. So rad.
Like, you've got 2 daughters. I've got 2 daughters. It seems like a lot of our friends also have the exact same.
Yeah.
And like you go to a game and you're like, yeah, that's the girl I want to grow up to be like. There's your answer right there.
Yeah.
Like absolutely incredible.
Super rad.
It's just one of those, I looked, I'm like, really? And then you just think, well, yeah, I mean, it checks out. Like, I mean, Haley Wickenheiser played in the Swiss Men's League, I think, right?
Mm-hmm.
And obviously Manon Rhéaume got her shot as a goaltender, which is, I mean, definitely not a position that is very kind. So, I mean, her first game wasn't exactly amazing, but I mean, how many women can say they played in the NHL? One. Pretty awesome.
Yeah.
That's about it, my friend. I kind of want to get in again. Thank you. Whoa, what the heck was that? Thank you, everybody. If you did vote for us for Best of Kelowna, we'll find out soon enough if we made the cut. Wouldn't that be nice, even if we made third? That'd be pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Just get that sticker on the window. Just, driving by. Oh, Best of Kelowna. I wonder what that's about. Creates a conversation. We are on the Dean Blundell Network. We are available on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Check us out. If there is a way to get a podcast, if you can listen to it, if you have the wherewithal to listen to a podcast, listen to us. It's the PP1 podcast. It's not hard. It's easy. You click on the button. It's simple math. If you feel like watching our beautiful faces for 49 minutes this week, by all means, go to our YouTube or go back on Facebook. Heck, check us out on Twitter. If you're just scrolling through, open up an extra window, you're good to go. We're going to be along for the ride for you while you're spewing hate comments and solving the world's problems and yelling about why there's a museum that costs $790 million. Just get involved, get in the conversation. As we said, there's going to be a contest coming up. Make sure you pay attention to that. It is always worth it when we have a contest. Ted, am I wrong there?
Not wrong.
We've had headphones. We've had summer skates. We've had I don't know, hats. We've had our 100th episode. We gave away a ton of swag. Like, we deliver. We gave away the Jack Hughes card. Remember that? The signed Jack Hughes
Jack
card?
Hughes hair, golf gear. Yeah. Like
We
it's good.
deliver.
We've been pretty good.
We will deliver for you. So please enjoy your long weekend. We're doing it on a Friday. It's been a crazy week. Make sure you take care of your teammates on your respective sports teams. Make sure you enjoy whatever beverage you're enjoying this weekend. Hopefully, we all get a little bit of sunshine. Our houses don't blow over with all these crazy winds in BC. And wherever you're listening to, thank you very much. We're 3 years in. We do appreciate every single person that listens to the show. We make sure that we put everything into it so you guys can enjoy it. And we love coming back every week. So I'm sure, Ted, do you have any final words? No? Yes? Maybe?
Stoked for the long weekend.
Can't wait, man. Can't wait. On behalf of my good friend, Ted, at T3Erie on Twitter, Instagram, pretty much anywhere that requires an @ symbol, I'm Ryan. This is the PP1 podcast, the official podcast of hockey in Kelowna and around the British Columbia.
You're doing it. You're doing great.
Yeah, that you know where I'm about to go with this.